players, each with their own entrances and exits. And in one man or woman's life, they have many roles to play. But there comes a time when the role that you play no longer fits who you are, and that is when transformation happens. I first started my first job at Georgian College in 2011. I was kind of quiet and shy then. And that's how I presented myself to the world and how I saw myself. People would say I was soft-spoken or an introvert. And there's nothing wrong with those qualities, but that is the me that I projected. At the same time, I was starting a journey that would change my life. I began my first course in the Master of Arts program at Athabasca University. As the semesters went on, I was feeling like I missed the connection of being at a bricks and mortar institution. Studying from a distance was a great fit for my family and work life, but I didn't feel like a student. Around the same time, the Graduate Students Association sent out an email looking for people to sit on student council. It was an online meeting once a month, a commitment that fit well with me, so I signed up. What I didn't realize was that I was signing myself up to run in an election. Why shy me didn't campaign? So I put together a campaign statement, crossed my fingers, but I prepared to lose. And I didn't lose, mostly because one of the other candidates didn't vote for himself. So once I was on council, I found myself signing up for committees, becoming way more involved than one meeting a month, and I loved it. Fast forward to 2015, and the executive elections were coming up. I remember very clearly driving home from work on a sunny winter afternoon, and like a lightning bolt, I thought, I could run for executive, why not? And I talked to the outgoing president, who convinced me that I would be a good fit for the role. So I prepared my nomination package, and I waited. And this time I won, because no one else ran against me. So now, this quiet girl from Innisfil was the president of the Graduate Students Association with 5,000 members across the country, and I was based in Edmonton. What the hell was I thinking? How did I get here? But the truth is, behind the quietness, I had a growing passion for the importance of open access education and the opportunities it provided students. I was also passionate about the link between distance education and labor education in this country. I wanted to further explore and promote programs that let students study by distance in their home communities and give them opportunities that they might not otherwise be able to have because of the cost of moving to a bricks and mortar institution. And finally, I wanted to support research and academia in rural and remote communities that could be influenced directly by where people lived and applied directly in the community by the student. It's the key finding of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and it also reflects the importance of moving academia outside the urban centres in Canada. One of my first duties as president was to call into a meeting for a committee of the Board of Governors, a board that I was now part of. A board where the acting chair was the former PC party president of Alberta. I felt like I didn't belong. The people on this board had experiences and associations that were so far from my reality, there was no way we could have any common ground. Stereotypes I held about myself, being quiet and shy, same stereotypes that I held about university administrators. And in the first meeting, there was a vote, and I voted against the majority. And the president of the university asked me specifically why I voted that way. Thankfully, it was a conference call, so they couldn't see the look of terror on my face. But I had really good reasons, and I got them out. Shortly after that, I went to my first conference with the Canadian Alliance of Students Associations. And I walked into the meeting room, and I was surrounded by a group of mostly undergraduate students, and the energy was a mix of people who could win student government elections even if someone was running against them. And I remember feeling, a few months ago, there's no way I would have belonged here, but now maybe. And the truth is, I did belong because I was different from them. You don't have to be conventional to be an important voice at the table. In fact, what I brought as a non-traditional student influenced the group to come up with policies that they might not otherwise. I researched the importance and advocated for extending internet access to rural and remote communities to improve access to education. I did some research on the difference between funding for grants and the cost of daycare for students with children. And I also advocated for extending the variety of graduate students beyond the traditional voice of academia to improve the quality and output of research within this country. One of the projects that CASA took on that year was a federal Get Out the Vote campaign. I co-chaired the Athabasca effort, and our campaign was online, and we were able to get commitments to vote from students from every province and territory of this country. With that data, CASA was able to arrange meetings with senators and MPs that they had never had access to. Suddenly I was not just a student from Municipal, but I was a voice for students from the Yukon, from rural Newfoundland, and even had a meeting with the Assembly of First Nations. And that Board of Governors where everyone was so different than me? Well, it turns out that wasn't quite right either. The acting chair might have been the former president of the PC Party of Alberta. Did I mention I'm kind of a left-wing hippie? But I had more in common with her than not, and I really admire her experiences and her accomplishments both in healthcare and law, and we worked together to get some great things done. It turns out that the stereotypes I held about people who are different from me, politically, socioeconomically, personally, were as false as the stereotypes that I held about myself, being just a quiet, shy girl from Minnesota. Because the truth is that my voice and your voice is unique, and that is exactly why it matters, and why it's important to share. So as I ended my journey from tentative new graduate student to walking across the floor at convocation, I had made two discoveries. First, never limit anyone, including yourself, with the term just. And second, when you have a flash of brilliance on a sunny winter afternoon, follow through. Thank you.